I'm going to quickly demonstrate a couple of ways to create a fairly simple bottle model in Fusion 360. I'm going to do two ways. The first is going to be a rotate and shell, and the second is going to be using some other methods. The first thing you should do is go in and enter some user parameters about the model, the things you know. The first thing I always add is the thickness of the walls that I'm going to print, in this case 1.6 millimeters. I've then added the total height of the object. I put that as 5 inches, which it calculated to be 127 millimeters. The neck is going to be 27 millimeters tall. The cylinder portion at the bottom is going to be 60 millimeters. Neck diameter is going to be 20 millimeters. Base diameter 2 inches wide. What I do now is I create a template sketch using construction lines. It's going to be total height tall. We know that the diameter for the base, we want the radius, so divide by 2. We then know that the cylinder height goes up to there. The neck diameter, we want converting to a radius, neck diameter divided by 2, so that. And we know where that comes down to because we have the neck height. So that's my template for it. Now I create the actual sketch. I'm going to project that, 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 and that. And what projecting does is it copies the lines across from that previous sketch or the model. So once I click OK, we've now got these solid lines. I also want to project that across. Now what I want to do is create a construction line from here to, I could just do that, but what I want is I want the base diam divided by 2 again, or I can go to modify change parameters, look at this sketch. This is D8. What I will do, just to really tell it, you can do it by doing this, but I have more confidence in actually explicitly saying D8. Now I can draw a couple more lines. Excuse me. That, and we have a solid face. Finish the sketch. Revolve this face around this axis. You can either click that or click this line here, which is the center line. Set it extent type to full, and we have our body shape. We can then use the shell to create a hollowing. I've selected both the top and the bottom just for demonstration purposes. Say wall thickness. There we go. We have that nicely selected. If I cancel that, we actually have a complete bottle. So that was method 1. You would probably then come along and use the fillet to do something like this and make each of those, say, 6 millimeters, and it will round those off a bit. Add another one, 16 millimeters, and we get a round bottom. But we did that after the shell, so that's not going to be helpful. So let's move the timeline back. Fillet. There. There. Those are going to be 6. And then this I'll be a little less aggressive and make it 12. Now if we move the timeline forward again, it reapplied the shell to the filleted version, and we have a nice little bottle shape. So let me go back and do this a second method. Get rid of that sketch. I could actually have just moved the timeline back, but okay. So now I'm going to create my second sketch. I'm going to do it on the flat plane. I want to project this point and this point. Okay. And then I'm going to create a circle there, which I just matched to that point. It will track that in future. Now I'm going to create an offset plane from there to object here. That creates a second plane there. From there to object there. I'm going to create another sketch here. This same line wants projecting, which brings a line here for the top of the cylinder. On this one, and now what we need to do is project the center point again, and the inner point, which is the neck. create a circle there. And then I'm going to create one last offset plane from there to the top, to object here. And I'm basically going to clone that last image by projecting the neck again. So project. Okay, so we have these surfaces. And I could simply extrude that up to here and create that portion. What I'm going to do instead is I'm going to use a more advanced feature called Loft, which is tell it to match that profile to there, and then to here, and then to here. And you see we've got a more of a vase shape. We can tell it that is the direction it wants to go, and it will behave slightly differently. We can tell it that this profile is also the direction, and we get another shape. It's rounding it a bit more. If that's not what we want, then we just simply go with saying this to here, and extrude this one to here. It's important to select the to object, otherwise it remembers the actual distance. And then we'll use Loft, and for a single step it should give us a nice simple line like that. Okay, so again we could hollow it out if we want. I'm not going to do that just yet. Now I can use a chamfer, which is a straight line here. That's not quite what we want, so we do actually want to fill it. Let's put 12 there, and also include that line, so those are both 12. And then let's fill it the chamfer the bottom, which is 16. Gives us the diagonal line like that. And then shell here. And again, that's wall thickness. Or we could create another set of circles inside of each of these. So for example, we could just push this straight to the top, like that, and use cut. Again, use to object so it knows that we're doing it relatively. It's not a great design for a bottle, but I want to just demonstrate that now if I modify the parameters and make the neck diameter 10 millimeters, it breaks because this is wider than that. If I change it to parameters, let's change the height. Let's change the total height to 6 inches. As you see, everything has scaled to that accordingly, but that made the base too small. So let's change the cylinder height to 90. And you see how this is nicely keeping up with everything. And that's how I would generally use Fusion. Let's get rid of this and do a shell, wall thickness, and there we go. We have our bottle shape again.